Well, hey, welcome. Startled me there. I forgot I was doing a video today again. Imagine that. Welcome back to Chris Ranks. My name is Chris France. Thanks for joining us today. Today we'll be talking about Husker Du, formed in 1977, St. Paul, Minnesota. Bob Mould, Grant Hart, Greg Norton pretty much engineered the alternative rock mainstream movement of the 90s forward. They're responsible for every band from Green Day to Nirvana. Their sonic soundscape and influence is undeniable. Husker Du. Our book of the week is Bob Mould, See a Little Light, The Trail of Rage and Melody. I got this copy. I saw him at the Birchmere in Fairfax, Virginia. It was really cool. He'd read a passage, then play one of his solo songs. Got the stub right there. But yeah, really cool. Mainly about Bob, but if you're a Husker Du fan, you get all the nitty gritty about that. If you want to see what Bob looks like as a young tyke, that's in there too. Lots of other cool photos. I got this ticket stub from when I saw Bob at the 930 Club, 2011 Copper Blue 20th anniversary tour of the Sugar album he did. Fantastic. Encore with 7 Husker Du songs. Bob Mould, autobiography, fantastic. That's the book of the week. I'm using the proppy up there, as I do. At the time, when I saw him for this, he was promoting Silver Age. Fantastic, one of his solo records. Star Machine, The Descent's on here. Fantastic stuff. Yes, our drink of the week is Loose Cannon. Yes, Loose Cannon, Heavy Seas Brewery, Baltimore, Maryland. Fantastic IPA. Cheers. Let's talk about some Husker Du. If only I had someone to talk about Husker Du to.
Ha ha ha!
Oh, Mikey McVeigh, where'd you come from? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey.
Yeah, introduction for you, Mikey McVeigh. We have a lot in common. Musicians, bartenders, horror movie, 80s expert, pop culture expert.
Playing music for free beer.
Yeah, always. And yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to Chris Ranks.
Yeah.
You guys like it, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. And we're going to rank the albums of Husker Du today. 8 studio albums, including their EP, Metal Circus.
I'm very, very interested in seeing how our opinions differ on
Yeah.
this discography, man.
Me too.
Absolutely.
They're a great band. They started off as hardcore, evolved into a more songwriter friendly band, more craftsmen as years went on. And both eras are fantastic. A few honorable mentions for their music. I want to mention their 1994 live album put out by Warner Brothers, The Living End. It was cobbled from various shows, various venues from their 1987 final tour, including one in Washington, D.C. at the old 930 Club.
And the thing I love about that album so much is that those later songs sound so aggressive.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just so much harder and it just really showcases how great of a band they were live.
Absolutely.
It just makes me realize I just grew up in the wrong era. People.
Yeah. I would have loved to have been a fly at the wall at some of those shows. And, by the time they recorded these shows, they were probably brand new songs because Husker was so prolific with always trying out new songs on the road and stuff like that. But The Living End live, okay sound mix. They did the best they could. It's worth checking out though. It's good for popping in, cranking on a summer day. And they really, they represent pretty much every era of Husker Du. They do a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. And the two songs, Now That You Know Me, which eventually became a Grant Hart solo song. Mm-hmm. No Water in the Well is on there, which was a new song for them. And they do a cover of Sheen is a Punk Rocker and Ticket to Ride by the Beatles.
Yes.
And Ice Cold Ice, I love that version on there. But anyway, yeah, The Living End, cool live album, check it out. Another one I wanted to mention is this one. I bought this at Soundgarden Records, used record shop.
Oh, wow.
Husker Du. Psycho Power Papa Punk.
One I have not seen.
It's a bootleg from, I believe, 1985. The cool thing about this is that it's a Husker Du live bootleg from 1985. The not cool thing about it is it sounds like it's a Husker Du bootleg from 1985. Yeah. The mix is sketchy at best. Parts of it are unlistenable, but parts of it are pretty awesome. I mean, it was worth. I got it for $5. I mean, there's no way I wasn't going to buy this. And the artwork, I really like the artwork in here. I used to have this hanging on my band research area, band rehearsal area. Yeah, stories behind the songs. Yeah, but yeah, Husker Du, Psycho power pop punk. Worth checking out. And the other thing I wanted to mention was their second single, In a Freeland. I think it's when their hardcore sound and their melodic songwriting sensibilities really started to form. And it was never on an official album, so I just wanted to mention it because it's a big part of their history.
If I were to make any honorable mentions, I guess I'm gonna have to go a little bit outside of Husker Du, and I truly love those first two Bob Mould records.
Oh yeah,
like they're just workbook. I mean, See a Little Light. I mean, that's a single, and of course that's probably one of his most popular songs. But it's infectious for me.
Yeah,
I love that song so much.
Big Pete Townsend influence.
Black Sheets of Rain, and the really cool, interesting thing about those records was that the backing band that he had in that era was these two dudes from Perry Ubu, which is like an incredibly awesome 70s proto-punk band.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like I just thought it was really cool that he got these veteran punk rockers to back him.
Yeah, he knew exactly what he wanted.
Exactly.
What else besides that one? Let's talk about Husker Du related projects. You mentioned those two Bob Mould records. Is there any other ones that you think are really important?
I think it's very honorable mention to mention the first one. Like the first single that they did on Reflex Records, which was owned by Terry Katzman, which was also associated with Twin Tone, which is actually a label that, you know, Husker Du aspired to be on.
Yeah. Because
they're a Minneapolis label, and you know, but the guy who owned it, who became the manager of the Replacements, Peter Jasperson, he took on the Replacements.
Yeah.
You know, so there's kind of a little bit of a friendly rivalry there with the Replacements.
Yeah.
In Huskers, because they were slightly bitter that they didn't get on the, you know, the local label.
Yeah.
But hey, like, you know, Huskers, they toured way more than Replacements did.
And that kind of rejection makes you want it more, and it probably lit a big fire under their ass. And
Absolutely.
also, I'm glad you brought out the Replacements. Both of these bands, Husker Du and the Replacements, are obviously in my top 10.
Yes.
I wasn't trying to be disrespectful by wearing a Replacement shirt for the Husker Du video. One of my ex-girlfriends has my Husker Du shirt, and those things aren't like, you know, they're easy to find.
They're hard to come by.
I want that back later. But yeah, definitely good call on that. I've followed Bob Mould through most of his solo career. He's made lots of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My honorable mention, and it's not going to be all Bob Mould centric, but I love Sugar. A lot of people would say Copper Blue is better, but File Under Easy Listening I love, and that was, for those who don't know, that was Bob's project, 3-man power, just rock project with Malcolm Travis on drums and David Barb on bass, loud as hell, ear-bleedingly loud, but very tuneful. And I had the revelation one day. I remember in 5th grade in 1994, that song, that majestic opening to Your Favorite Thing, that was one of my earliest like rock radio memories. And I never put it together until years and years later that Bob Mould and Sugar were the same person. So all the music they influenced is crazy. I didn't even realize I was so influenced by them. I was like, wow, I've heard this song before I heard like Green Day or any of those other songs.
See, that's awesome. That's a good way to come, you know,
come
into fruition with the alternative rock scene.
Indeed. And also got to mention Grant Hart's solo records. Definitely check out like Admiral of the Sea is a great song. His records with Nova Mob, 2541, the EP is beautiful. But yeah, let's start with our list. What do you say there, pal?
Yeah, dude.
You're my guest, so you go first.
All right. So I'm gonna go with my first one, which is Warehouse Songs and Stories. That is my least favorite of these records. That comes at number 8. So, I mean, listen, there is not a bad Husker Du record, not one. But you can kind of tell the divide in the band started during this period. Just because, like, you know, I feel like the Heart and the Mould songs are very disjointed at times. Sorry, I took copious notes. So, you know, Mould once told Hart that he would, this was around the period, like, he was like, look, man, you are never, ever going to get more than 50% of your songs on a record while we're in a band together.
It's a dick swinging contest.
Exactly, and it became like a like, you know, whose dick is bigger kind of contest. And on top of that, I think Greg Norton felt really disrespected during this time because, you know, at this point, like, he wasn't writing anything for the band, and he didn't participate. And so I think as like, you know, if Mold or Grant, if Bob or Grant weren't satisfied with what he was doing, like, they went and re-recorded his parts.
Yeah.
You know, which was kind of a bummer, you know, because, like, that's just, it, you know, once that kind of divide happens, it's kind of obvious in the music, it's kind of obvious in the production, it's pretty obvious in the delivery of the songs. But that's not to say that there isn't terrific songs here. I mean, These Important Years, which I almost feel like is like a sequel to Make No Sense at All.
Nice.
And Standing in the Rain, his vocals just resonate with me so much in that song. And it's funny because, like, I won't lie, I tend to gravitate towards the Bob Mould songs. Ice Cold Ice,
I love,
which
one of
you've
my
already
favorites.
talked about. It has, like, it begins kind of with this, like, weird, like, AC/DC vibe. I don't think you see that.
Interesting.
But, like, in the intro, but then it just turns into this really awesome broad neck pace of punk brilliance. Could You Be the One?
I love that's what the first Husker Du song I ever heard.
Friend, You've Got to Fall.
I love that song.
Which is a quintessential, like, it's like the alternative Blueprint. Absolutely. She Floated Away, which is basically like Grant Hart's Hey, You Got to Hide Your Love Away from the Beatles.
Oh, good comparison.
Others like Bed of Nails.
That's cool.
She's a Woman, But He's a Man. Oh my Lord. What terrific songs.
On their worst album.
On their worst
but
album.
that's a testament to the quality
Exactly.
of Husker Du.
But, like, the puzzling thing about the Husker Du catalog is, like, the moment that they moved from SST, which is a respected punk label, to Warner Brothers, the production really didn't improve.
I won't argue with you on
You
that
know,
one.
which is like, you know, it's like they made the same quality productions with just a little bit more money, and it was just, you would think to yourself that with that kind of backing that you could, you know, kind of make a better production, but
Absolutely.
they never really did.
I agree with you on that. My pick for number 8, least awesome Husker Du album, is Candy Apple Grey. The reason being, it has the offense of, after years of hearing how influential and how great they were. So the only song I heard before this was Could You Be the One, which I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Candy Apple Grey album, and it had a couple cool songs on it, but I was like, I don't see what all the fuss is about.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal rips, absolutely crazy awesome. Don't Want to Know If You're Lonely, great alternative rock punk song, classic. I love Sorry Somehow. Hardly Getting Over It is a beautiful acoustic ballad. The Missteps, Too Far Down, all over the place, vocally and, like, performance-wise.
Yes.
I love Dead Set on Destruction. It's a very Grant Hart heavy album, which isn't a bad thing. I know that they were, like, really didn't like each other at this time, and I read an interview when the label selects singles. Like, the musician doesn't select what single to put out first. So the label said, Grant said, once he heard us, don't want to know you're lonely. He was like, oh fuck, my life. He's gonna make my life miserable now because these guys are always fighting. But yeah, and the production's terrible on it. It's too compressed, and it's just airy and weird in, like, the worst kind of ways. I love Eiffel Tower High. I'm pretty sure that's all I really have to say. Oh yeah. That's all I have to say about that album. There are some great singles on it, but it's not something I go back to really ever.
All right, time to turn around my copious notes. So number 7 is Candy Apple Grey for me.
Yeah.
Which is their first album on a major label. It's really their first college radio exposure. It was a huge staple on, like, late night MTV and all that stuff. It was really their first album to chart, actually.
Yeah.
It was maybe their only one. I think it was like, it came at like 140 on the charts.
Yeah.
The one thing I thought was admirable about this album is, like, they condense the songs. It's like, all right, we don't need 15 songs. They gave us 10 songs that are, you know, but they vary, just like Chris said, you know. It was the first Huskers album to have, like, magnum opuses, you know.
Of 4-minute long songs.
Yeah.
As opposed to 30.
And like I said before, it's like, it's puzzling because, like, you know, we're on a major label now. Like, we should have, like, you know, an ace producer and, like, have all this shit at our disposal. But it's not better production. It's not. But again, and just like he said, Grant Hart shines on this record.
Absolutely.
He is terrific on this record. As a matter of fact, probably the best songs on his record are his songs.
Yep.
And again, Don't Want to Know If You're Lonely. That's the epitome of melodic rock that beckons a fan who's like, been through every form of breakup known to man. It's almost like a sequel to like the Zen Arcade Standard, which is one of my favorites. Never Talking to You Again.
Yeah.
I love that song so much, and I feel like those two songs are like amalgamation of each other. I don't know for sure. Bob's vocals, oh my God, I love that. I love his vocals on that song. Again, Hardly Getting Over It. That's their magnum opus. And and I'm not, it's a very soft but goody song. Dead Set on Destruction, one of Grant Hart's, probably one of his darkest songs. Really cool melodic, and it has like these really cool dissonant chords. I love the line, I can't get home because of a hurricane. No Promise I Have Made, another haunting Grant song. Oh my Lord, it just tears at my heartstrings. It really does. Some of the Bob songs are kind of weird, as much as I love Crystal, and like another song that I kind of have a weird.
It's a bummer Bob album.
Yeah, it's weird because like the songs are weird, but the songs are good, and like the music to this, like Crystal's good, and another one I have to mention, All This I've Done to You.
That's a good. I like that one.
It's a great song, but it's like Bob's vocals are so uneven that like it's just it's like because he does like these weird melodic things because he has like vocal overdubs, and it just sounds more tortured than anything.
Yeah.
I
would agree with you on that one. Yeah, Candy Apple Gray, Misstep. Definitely some cool songs in there though.
Oh yeah.
It seems like we both
again not one bad.
Not
exactly.
One bad Husker. Yeah.
Huskers.
Just least awesome.
Yeah.
My number 7 goes to Everything Falls Apart. Released in 1983. After Land Speed Record was a live album, which was like technically their first album. This is their first proper album, studio recorded full album. Never really did it for me. I listened to it again today, and I like it a little bit more. I wish I could put it higher, but there's just other stuff from their earlier catalog, which is far more important.
Yes.
Things I love about this album is where they really established, like the ink block album cover, for example, was really cool. Some of these songs are straight up hardcore, and they're produced a lot well. Speaking of production, like these are like a lot cleaner than some of the later, you know what I mean? Like they're not as like overindulgent or whatever, overblown. But they stay with their hardcore roots and just show little flashes of like pop brilliance. Punch Drunk, kicks ass, hardcore, scary song. Afraid of Being Wrong, Bricklayer, fantastic, which is also on Land Speed Record. Some of the catchy, more accessible ones, Sunshine Superman, back with Grant singing and like going back to the 60s.
That's probably my favorite Huskers cover.
It's a great one,
yes.
Yeah. And then, the title track is fantastic. They have some funny stuff too. The song Wheels, I Got an Engine Goes Vroom Vroom Vroom, but it's under the guise of like this like aggressive punk rock song. And they have a song called Obnoxious, which cracks me up. I had an ex-girlfriend who hated when I listened to Husker Du. She'd be like, "Oh, Husker Du," and it just cracks me up. They have a song called Obnoxious, and I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking obnoxious. Like, I love some of the hardcore stuff, but some of it's just like more of like an art statement, like let's be fast, loud, out of control. But Everything Falls Apart, definitely worth revisiting. It's Husker Du, and and also Gravity. Gravity has a big shoegaze feel to it, and also like a lot of it's got a lot of like real emotive guitar riffs, like just in like a current band like Torch or someone like that. Like there's like a major scale ascending guitar riffs, lots of hammer-ons and stuff. And Bob was like really like he's one of my favorite guitar players for doing the rhythm stuff and also throwing in the leads when he can. But Everything Falls Apart, flashes of brilliance on that one. Wish I could put it higher, but I can't.
All right. So number 6 goes to Land Speed Record.
Yeah.
It's actually the first Huskers album I've ever heard. It's really not their first debut album, but I mean it's their first like full length, but it is a live album, and it pretty much showcases all of their like really their first songs, you know, their first hardcore songs. This is straight up hardcore, fast-paced, aggressive punk rock. It was recorded at the famous Minneapolis club, the 7th Street Entry, in August of 1981. There's actually a live, some live footage from like a month later. That's pretty much the same exact set, but they started like showcasing some of their Everything Falls Apart Metal Circus stuff, which, you know, you owe it to yourself to see that, because honestly, that's a great performance. And as much as I love this album, the recording is dog shit.
That's an understatement.
It's absolute dog shit, and it doesn't sound good, and you can tell it's just from a raw soundboard, which is admirable, but it doesn't make for a good debut album.
No.
You know, it really doesn't, and it doesn't, and on top of that, like, it doesn't really represent at all their later output. It really doesn't. But nonetheless, I'm a hardcore punk fan. I love Black Flag. They're my favorite band of all time. And of course, they're the fathers of SST Records, which Husker Du is on, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot of great songs on here, and there are hints of them starting their melodic period. Like All Tensed Up. That's like pretty much the first time you ever think that they're actually, you know, starting to mature. But I love, you know, the brutal fast-paced stuff like Guns at My School. I really love the rendition of Gilligan's Island.
Oh, fuck yeah, it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. I want to fuck Ginger under a palm tree. Bricklayer, just brutally fast, and just like, and on top of that, like between Land Speed Record and Everything Falls Apart, it's just like, you got to admire the fact that Bob Mould can just pull off these blistering, fast solos, man. Oh my God. Other songs, You're Naive, Tired of Doing Things, Let's Go Die. I love that song.
The two of the best titles on the whole album.
But I did find a really good remastered version of this album on YouTube. And it's some guy, I can't tell you his YouTube name, but like he did a remastered version, which sounds like 5 times better.
I'll check that out.
You have to check that out. Definitely.
Wish I knew about that earlier today.
Yeah.
But yeah, good points on Land Speed Record.
Mm-hmm.
Guess that's actually my number 6. First of all, I love this cover art. I mean, that's brutal.
It really is.
You know, like it just says everything you need to say. Grant Hart did the artwork for all their albums. He designed the logo, does a fantastic job.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. He's a big art guy. But yeah, I agree with you. This album is like, imagine a bunch of lunatics on crystal meth, drunk out of their minds.
Yeah.
They really captured something with this album. They captured a feeling that they really like upped the ante for hardcore. They're true artists. They really made some art without even probably realizing it. This is what I call the Bob Mould headband era.
Yes.
When he had his curly hair and his headband. But I agree, All 10 stuff
Yeah,
is
that
awesome.
headband on that's September 1981 footage. It's
Oh
hilarious.
yeah. But All 10 stuff is awesome. Guns in My School, I agree. Gilligan's Island is hilarious. Don't Have a Life. Some of my favorites. I think this album, like the last 5 songs, are like the best. To the beat, to the beat, to the beat. That one's crazy. Big Sky, Ultra Cool, Let's Go Die. Data Control
is like their sludgy one.
That's probably like their most like fully formed like song on.
Yes.
Would you agree? But yeah, I wish I could put it higher, but there's something else that's higher than this. Land Speed Record though kicks fucking ass. One thing I forgot to say about Land Speed earlier. Yeah. The only reason it's not higher is because if some people I know are really into like all kinds of music, but some people, I wouldn't want to scare them away by if they were like, oh, Husker Du, what's that? Like it was like some like cute girl who like had like good taste in music. I wouldn't be like, yeah, just listen to the fucking Land Speed Record. Like, cause they'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Some people will be like, that shit's awesome, but I like how they evolved as a band and still kept those hardcore sensibilities.
Exactly, and like as good as Land Speed Record is, I don't think it's a good introductory record.
No, it's like some a bunch of insane lunatics, which yes. I do love. Good points. I agree with you on most of that.
See. So, my number 5 is Flip Your Wig. Da 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 da. So, I mean, this is pretty much the band any hardcore resonance that was in the band before, it's gone by this point. It's done. It's the first album they were able to produce themselves without the SST house producer Spot, which, you know, great producer, but when you're becoming more of a melodic band, you know, that punk rock DIY aesthetic of production really doesn't work after a while. And these guys were way more ambitious, you know, they wanted more. And I'm pretty sure, no, this is the last album with SST Records. And they brought in replacements engineer, I'm going to say this completely wrong, Steve Velstad. Because they were just tired of using Spot, you know, and I understand because, you know, they wanted to get out of that punk rock aesthetic and become a serious band. It was the first time they spent months in the studio. And I think the problem with this album was it kind of rode too close on the heels of New Day Rising, because both those albums came out in 1985. And Bob Mould claims that, though, that Flip Your Wig is his favorite album out of the whole entire discography. And I gotta flip my copious notes again.
flip your notes.
But this is the first album without any contributions whatsoever from Greg Norton, the bass player, which is kind of a shame because he would throw in like some pretty, you know, cool tunes there every once in a while. But, you know, of course, my favorite song of all time by Husker Du is on this album. I love Makes No Sense.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that. I love that song so much. I love the title track. I love the dual vocals by Grant and Bob on that song. Hate Paper Doll. Great melodies. It kind of gives you like this weird Beach Boys vibe. And the thing I love about Makes No Sense at All is just like it just speaks to, you know, a listener about, you know, just being contradictory and false confidence. Divide and Conquer.
Yeah, killer riff.
That just pummels, and I just love Mould's howls and, you know, shouts on that song. Green Eyes, probably one of Grant's best love songs. Games, a very melodically dark song, and it's almost like the Huskers meets The Cure, kind of, at least in my mind. You know, other songs that are really good. I love Private Plane. I love Don't Know Yet, which is like, again, going back to their weird psychedelia that they kind of did, you know, started with in Zen Arcade. I hate Flexible Flyer.
No!
I hate Flexible Flyer.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. It's just plotting to me, and that's going to be such an unpopular opinion, but hey, man.
Well, you had to say one negative thing about the album. It's pretty low down there. Okay, yeah, fair assessment on Flip Your Wig. Number 5 for me is Metal Circus. I wish I could put it higher, but you know, we all know the one that's going to be higher than this one. But this is their first EP. It's right after Everything Falls Apart.
Mm-hmm.
Real World. This is when Bob was really starting to get that guitar tone, that distorted, like beautiful, like droning kind of sound. It always has like a flange effect. A lot of like crystal effect, no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
He even says in his biography, all of my years of doing drugs made me like this kind of sound. Is that trebly but like drony sound. Real World is an awesome song.
Mm-hmm.
It's Not Funny Anymore, a Grant Hart vocal. It's fantastic. Diane is the magnum opus, as you say, of that one. I love this song because, speaking of Greg Norton, he doesn't get enough credit.
No.
I think it's just because he's not the big personality, and he was like the middleman mediator between these two maniacs. But
which is why he became a chef.
Yeah, I was like,
kept on playing songs.
10 years in a band with those two guys, I'd be like, fuck this shit. But,
yeah.
No, his bass playing, it reminds me of like New Order, Joy Division. This like chordal bass, like he plays a lot of bass chords on this song and on.
Is there a slight flange on that song?
Probably,
with his
yeah.
bass? I think there is.
Yeah, but that song, I think when bands mature, like you can do whatever you want to mature, but I think a sign of it is when they stop writing songs that are like, I did this or you made me feel this way. They write about someone else, and they wrote about this girl who got raped and murdered in a local college, and it took brass balls for them to do that. Obviously, some people might be upset by that, but they were showing empathy towards someone else's situation and singing it from the killer's point of view and Grant Hart's little angelic voice. Definitely a nice artistic choice. But First of the Last Calls, again, a little like good-natured ribbing to the Replacements. Rumored to be like based off of Color Me Impressed. I think that's pretty cool. Out on a Limb, the outro is a little on the psychedelic side.
Yes, it is.
And fuck, what am I forgetting? I'm forgetting. There's something.
Lifeline.
Lifeline is awesome.
Deadly Skies.
Deadly Skies is super punk.
Deadly Skies is probably like the last remnants of like their old material.
Yeah, and Greg's bass playing on like Diane and a couple songs reminds me of like Joy Division. Very hypnotic. Out on a Limb, yeah. The guitar sound almost sounds like a harmonica, almost like a slide guitar, like
I agree.
harmonica mix.
I never made that assessment. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, this is when Bob started like developing his guitar sound more, and this counts as an album because it's so important to them and to their history, and it was supposed to be an album. And the Extra Circus,
Yes.
so you know that had a couple more songs and was super hard
Because it was supposed to be a full album. So, in that respect, we're going to count it, okay?
Absolutely.
We're not going to be one of these people like, oh, we're going to admit out live.
It's got 7 songs on
DVDs.
it. Like a classic rock band in the 70s, they'd have 7 songs.
Exactly.
So it's.
I mean, look at Rush. Come on. They had a 4-song album that was 40 minutes long. So, I guess it's my turn.
It
So,
is.
number 4, right? So my number 4 is New Day Rising. It's the last album that they did with SST producer Spot. It was probably the first full-blown melodic Huskers album, and it's just, that was actually, it was funny because like when I first got introduced to Huskers, like I started with Land Speed Record through my old lead singer in my hardcore punk band, and then went straight to New Day Rising. it's just 2 complete polar opposites. So it holds a special place in my heart because I just fell in love with those songs like right away. It's the last album to feature any sort of contributions from Greg Norton. It's probably one of their best productions. I think.
Yeah.
I think as far as like Grant Hart's drum sound, like I think it was pretty perfected on this album. It doesn't seem like a cheap production like a normal Spot production is, and let's face it, like a lot of those SSC productions were cheap as fuck. But Mold's guitar cuts through like a buzzsaw on this album.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, like it just has this melodic tone that melds with this use of chords that's just more reminiscent of kind of like early early influences, because they were influenced by like 60s bands like the Byrds, but like it also reminds me of like, you know, kind of like those borderline alternative bands like Naked Ray Gun.
Yeah.
It's like the material on that album, like I lump it all in with like, you know, Naked Ray Gun's All Rise and you know, Replacements Let It Be. New Day Rising. I can't think of a better song that just has one line.
Yeah, I can't
New
either.
Day Rising. I'm like, dude, seriously. And it's just baba 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 baba. It's like I you know, one-line songs usually suck, let alone like songs that are just basically haikus.
Yeah.
Girl Who Lives on Heaven Hill. Oh my lord, probably the best Grant Hart song ever.
Love those lyrics.
Crushing guitar work. Hart's vocals are, you know, at their best on this album and on this song. I Apologize, just a great melodic, broken-hearted punk rock song. Folklore,
Interesting.
Folklore, I just love when Huskers kind of get a little bit weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's because
I might have to give that one another look.
yes. Celebrated Summer. And of course, hey, Tony Pence, you're out there. You got that Celebrated Summer records out in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Go to Celebrated Summer in Baltimore. Some of the best punk rock records ever. Yeah, that's right, buddy.
Right up the
I'm
street.
promoting you on this channel.
Absolutely.
All right. Terms of psychic warfare.
I love that
It almost has like this new wave influence. You know, again, harkening back to like Joy Division. Greg Norton's bass like just fucking pummels on this song. 59 Times the Pain. An awesome off-putting of their hardcore years that just kind of leads into like it's kind of like amalgamation of their hardcore stuff meets their melodic stuff. that really, really works. Books about UFOs.
I love that song.
I just love how it kind of has like this, like kind of like Western saloon vibe to it.
Piano, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. Plans I Make, like that's just, it has like this really awesome breakneck speed to it. I love Molt shouting vocals on that song. Yeah, but all right, man.
Well, that's my pick as well for my number 4. The guitar tone, like you said, he was perfecting it more, a little better production. He put a little more of the mid-range into the guitar tone and was really, like you said, cutting through. You took the words right out of my mouth. So, Mikey, I'm really excited about this. I have a trivia question for you, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up.
All right, dude.
It's a multiple choice question.
I'm ready.
In the 80s, a pop solo singer covered the song New Day Rising on his tour. Let me give you people to choose from. Billy Ocean, Tina Turner, Robert Palmer, Michael Jackson.
Robert Palmer.
Yes, he did. Robert Palmer, for our younger viewers, he sang. He was a soul singer, white guy, English guy, sang "Addicted to Love." You know the videos with like the chicks with all the mascara on.
Did that awesome band Power Station with the dudes from Duran Duran.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But how cool is that? And if you listen to his cover, it actually really rocks. So
I've never heard it. I want to listen to it now.
Oh, dude, yeah,
I have to.
You have to. But Robert Palmer, yeah. It's not a fever dream. That really happened. But anyway, yeah. New Day Rising is incredible. Celebrated Summer is the quintessential, like, and not cheesy, like, songs about being young and knowing you're not going to be young forever, like drinking on the beach, playing in a band. Who hasn't done, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone getting out of school and getting out of hand, everyone can relate to these lyrics and they don't seem trite. The song New Day Rising kicks ass like no other. The Girl Who Lives on Heaven Hill reminds me of, you can either interpret it as like an alcoholic or a girl who is a spoiled rich girl who doesn't live, or just someone in your life who doesn't live in reality. Mm-hmm. You seem like, never mind.
Oh no, what I was about to say, was going back to the Living End live album. The Girl Who Lives in Heaven Hill, on that album.
Agreed.
Oh my God.
59 Times the Pain, I absolutely love. It reminds me of, like, I see like a kind of a Jimmy Eat World influence in it.
I can see that.
Just from like how it's like fast and stuff, like, but like the lyrics are very emo, I guess. Books about UFOs, I absolutely love. Terms of Psychic Warfare has that great harmony vocal. Plans I Make, it sounds like they're a bunch of fucking lunatics, which I love. Yeah. How to Skin a Cat is filler.
I tend to agree.
What You Drink is Throwaway. And I hate to call anything throwaway, but you know what I mean? Like, when you're this awesome, you're going to have some songs that just suck. But Powerline embraces their early punk influence, and again, has that emotive major guitar, like ascending guitar riffs, and like that, and very nice production. Very streamlined version of what they're trying to do earlier. And again, my favorite song, I apologize, New Day Rising.
And I think the good thing about Huskers is, like, no matter how much they condense that early influence throughout their career, like especially towards the end, like they never forgot who they were, never. And like that's the one thing I always admired about this band, and never stopped me from listening to them. Number 3, Everything Falls Apart.
Wow.
So it's their first studio album. It's their first album that they did for SST Records. It's their first album that they did with recording producer Spot. Spot has worked on so much stuff. Spot has, was the main producer for Black Flag from 1978 to 1984. He recorded a lot of Minutemen stuff, a lot of Descendants stuff, a lot of, I think they recorded the Necro's Conquest for Death album. I
bought my mom that for her birthday, actually.
Really?
Yeah, dude, she loved it.
All right, so highlight tracks from the gut. I mean, it has like this really cool military march to it. Ooh. It has like really crushing guitars. It's, again, it's like these songs kind of vary in their melodic and their hardcore side. So, and which, getting to Punch Drunk and Bricklayer, which pretty much just like kick your ass within like a little over a minute. It's just those 2 songs. I just love them. They're just kind of like these little snippets. They kind of remind me of the Minutemen in that sense.
Okay, yeah.
And Afraid of Being Wrong. I love that song.
Yeah, I love that one too.
Signals from Above. they're fast, but they have a substantial amount of melody to them and like musical substance that like really makes them really good. I love that cover of Sunshine Superman. And as a matter of fact, I got to make another honorable mention. They put out a single between, I believe, Metal Circus and Zen Arcade of 8 Miles High by the Byrds.
Oh, absolutely incredible.
Dude, I think that's between Sunshine Superman and that 8 Miles High cover. They're tremendous. I really love Wheels, which is Grant Hart's only contribution to the album, which surprisingly enough. And I would say this is, for me at least, the first Huskers album that doesn't have one dud on it.
Okay, fair enough. For me, my number 3, and it's funny because mine was on the very opposite.
We are polar opposites. We're like the odd couple. He's Felix, I'm Oscar.
I love Warehouse Songs and Stories. And it's funny because even it was very low on your list, but I mean, you didn't have a bad thing to say about it.
No, not at all.
One thing, it does sound like they're fighting over who the lead singer is. It's Bob Malt's song, Grant's song. Literally, it's back and forth like that up until like the 13th track. But
it's just like some Lennon McCarthy bullshit.
But they were so prolific, and These Important Years I love. Chastity, Prudence Hope is fine. Standing in the Rain is a stone cold classic. Back from Somewhere is okay. Ice Cold Ice I love. It's
the best song.
I feel like it has a little bit of a progressive feel, a little bit, the way the song kind of like speeds up, slows down, changes. You're a Soldier's fun. Could You Be the One is the first Husker song I ever heard. I love it. I love the buzzsaw guitar. I love the pop melodies. You hear the influence in like Green Day and pretty much any like of those like pretty much any hard edge band that attained pop sensibility in the 90s. Too Much Spice I love. Friend You Gotta Fall is in the top 5 best songs on the album. Visionary's fine. She Floated Away. So Grant Hart kind of sea shanty, you know.
Yeah.
Bed of Nails. I like that you mentioned that one. That's Bob Mallet is most depressed and despondent. Tell You Why Tomorrow I don't really remember. It doesn't. But here's where I love this album. The last 5 songs I love. Actual Condition's fine, but No Reservations I absolutely love. The opening harmonic bass thing they do in the beginning of that almost NBC ding ding ding, and just all the melodies in that. Turn It Around's good. She's a Woman, She's a Man. And my absolute favorite song, Up in the Air. When I first discovered this album, I was stuck in a place in my life, and this song is like the spiritual successor to Charter Trips, or the spiritual prequel to Charter Trips. You know, it's like Poor Bird Flies Up in the Air.
I can see that.
And the production on this isn't great, but it has a light, airy sound, and you just hear this is their last album, and it's so good, and you just hear everything they influenced in the 90s. I love Warehouse Songs and Stories, as they said themselves. Oh, it's no Zen Arcade as for a double album, but I truly recommend. This is and yeah, the production could have been better, but this is way better in my opinion than Candy Apple Gray.
The last gasp of a great band.
Absolutely, yeah,
Absolutely.
check it out.
So,
Oh, and great.
All right.
Mark too.
are you Husker fans ready to murder me right now? So, guess what? Guess what is number 2? Zen Arcade! Ah! What the fuck? All right, so it is their magnum opus. There is no saying that this album is tremendously terrific. Like, I can't. It's an understatement, to be honest with you. It's their first double album, aside from Warehouse. It's a true amalgamation of their hardcore punk and melodic side, and it works so goddamn well. And here's a funny story. So, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary about the Minutemen called We Jam Econo.
I have, yes.
And so Double Nickels on the Dime, came out the same year as Zen Arcade.
I have that over there. What a missed opportunity.
Yes.
I'm not going to.
And so Double Nickels on the Dime was going to be a single album. The Minutemen are fucking brilliant. D. Boone, Mike Watt, George Hurley, great band. And they are just as significant as this band here, in my opinion. Yeah. But when they found out that Husker Du was making a double album, they're like, well, shit. So they stopped production on their album, went into the rehearsal garage for 2 more weeks, and wrote 20 more songs. So Double Nickels on the Dime could be a double album that vies with Zen Arcade. if you're gonna
Released on the exact same day, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, their label did that.
And
which is crazy.
They wanted they wanted the competition. You know they did. But if you're really gonna twist my arm about what is the best between those two albums, this motherfucker right here.
So we love Husker so much. We keep forgetting to say what don't we like about these albums. So what don't you like about Zen Arcade that keeps it from #1?
It gets a little too zen, you know. It's like the psychedelia part of it. Like there's some filler there, you know. But I mean, even the filler is good, you know, and like that's why it's so high. And it's like, I feel like a jerk. But you know, again, like you know, and on top of that, it's their only concept album. Concept albums can go one of two directions. It's like if it's a good concept, you know, the music will translate well. If it's a bad one, it's gonna be dog shit. You know, like you know, for example, Queensryche Operation Mindcrime 2. Jeff Tate sucks. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this bullshit. But
I feel like, can I just say, I feel like when this came out, people, great bands who I love, but like were seen playing at the time. Like I think like people's like uncles or dads like Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yeah.
And their 13-year-old sons like Husker Du Zen Arcade.
this is one of the put that back up. This seriously is one of the best alternative rock albums of all time. Of all time. But and like, as a matter of fact, and I read something about it. I'm looking at my copious notes again. There's an interview that Bob Mould did with Steve Albini, where he basically says like, "Look, we're gonna do something bigger than anything rock and roll is," and the whole puny ass concept of touring. And you know, it's just, and it's funny because he even admits that it's like we don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it, and they did it with this album. And so, my highlights are, dude, Something I Learned Today. That's probably one of the first, like, probably one of the first songs I ever heard from Husker, and it's just, it impacted me so much. And it's kind of like a prequel to the song New Day Rising.
Oh, interesting.
It's probably one of their darker melodic songs. Never Talking to You Again. It's very simple. It's a very simple topic about heartache. So, like, you know, you really don't have to go far into the, you know, the metaphoric aspects of this song because it's straight in your face. And you know what's funny? I love dreams reoccurring and reoccurring dreams.
Yeah, I do too.
They're so psychedelic,
Weird.
but like they're so cool at the same time. And I love like the borderline hardcore songs on this album, like Beyond the Threshold, I'll Never Forget You. Like it's just like I feel like it's their last hurrah with hardcore punk. But it also has like these cool, really great chords. Standing by the Sea, which was recorded for Metal Circus, by the way. But they opted not to release it because they wanted a better recording for it. Standing by the Sea is probably in my top 5 Grand Heart songs. And then Pink Turns to Blue. Oh my God. Like, there's just so much depth to that song. And, you know, I won't go into that, but, you know, that's probably my top 3.
Yeah, that's
You know?
that's classic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Zen Arcade. My number 2 is Flip Your Wig. I'm a sucker for artwork. Let's talk about Grand Heart's artwork. It's cake decorations, cake lettering, and then it looks like they put the Husker Du logo over like a coffin or like a mausoleum or something. Just that like marble or whatever. But this album, I feel like Bob Mould got the sound he was looking for. I think if this was their first major label album, instead of Candy Apple Grey, they might still be playing right now because this album is all killer, no filler. I'm glad you mentioned the dual vocals on Flip Your Wig because I wish they would do that more often.
Oh, absolutely.
It was just so great. Like that song is so great. The way like Bob starts and Grant comes in and they sing together. But you know, it was just egos probably. Flip Your Wig, the song is awesome. As awesome as a title track that represents an album can be. Everything's Fine, Grand Heart led. Makes no sense at all. One of their best songs, I agree with that. Hate Paper Doll, yeah. Did you say like a Monkees feel? Like or some kind of like 60s feel? That one's very, very catchy. Green Eyes, beautiful little Grand Heart love song. Divide and Conquer, built on a riff. And Games, I like how you said, who did you say that reminded you of?
The Cure.
It reminds me of The Police.
I could totally see that.
And the way these like diminished chords he plays. Find Me's Okay, the baby song they throw away. You Hate Flexible Flyer. Private Plane is one of my favorites.
Yes.
And in these untrying times, I love Keep Hanging On, Grant Hart song. Wit and the Wisdom's fine, Don't Know Yet is okay with me, but this album to me is just, it's the one I go back to the most. It has the most consistency, and it really has a better production value and a true Bob Mould guitar tone, and pretty equal play between Bob and Grant. Excuse me.
Which is the way it should be.
Absolutely, but yeah, I just go back to this one so much. I love Flip Your Wig.
All right, are you ready for me to break some rules and how we rank albums? So, my number 1 is Metal Fucking Circus.
Good pick.
It's not an album, granted. It's not an album. And again, you got to check out the album with the extra circus stuff, because it's pretty cool. Because like, and I understand why they omitted those songs, because they wanted to be rid of their super fast, aggressive, hardcore stylings, but like it's they wanted to make it a more melodic album, and if it meant being an EP, then so be it. So but I love some of the extra circus stuff. Like there's songs that were omitted from the album, like You Think I'm Scared, Heavy Handed. They're both like 50 seconds long. And then you got the alternative version of Standing by the Sea, which I think is...
I like that one better actually.
Better than the Zen Arcade version?
Yeah.
You know what? I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
agree.
I didn't know
oh my God.
I didn't know it existed until this morning, but I love it.
And but again, like when you condense things to an EP, it kind of benefits it, because there's no room for filler, no room at all. So again, Real World. I love that song so much. I love the chord progression of that song, and I love the theme of that song, which is basically about the contradictions of punk rock. It's just like, oh, we believe in anarchy, but it's so goddamn unrealistic, but we're not even thinking about that. It's just Bob Mould has a really realistic version of how the punk rock should work in that song, and I admire him for it. Deadly Skies, that's probably, again, towards, they're trying to fight between the melodic side and the punk rock side, but it works so well. It's Not Funny Anymore is probably their first real melodic song, and it's probably number 1 as far as the Grant Hart material goes.
It's a growing up song.
Exactly.
It's right in the title.
Out on a Limb, so incredibly weird and dissonant, but it has like these insane guitar solos by Bob that I'm just like, dude, where is this coming from? Nobody would ever come up with this kind of stuff. And then First of the Last Calls, again, it's just that's just such a fast melodic song, and I feel like Real World and First of the Last Calls are pretty much companion pieces. Diane, of course, to further elaborate on what he was talking about. So I'm one of those dudes that's like really a huge fan of like Forensic Files and American Justice and all that stuff. That case about Diane was on an American Justice episode.
No.
Yes. And
check that out.
I knew about it long before the song. And she was a waitress from Minneapolis that got murdered by this complete insane asshole named Joseph Turry that I think he killed maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But anyway.
Well, tell me later so I can bring it up on all my first dates.
Yes. Yes.
There was a real icebreaker.
But it's like the fact that Huskers caught on to that and turned it into a song. It's like, wow, man. Like, this is your first 4. And on top of that is I think that was the first song that they did a song over 4 minutes long. Boy, no Statues, which is a piece of shit. But
yeah, I think Diane's like 4:26.
Yes, exactly. That's like their first like real song that went over 4 minutes long. And it's just, but yeah, great album. I can't overstate. And it should have been a full album, in my personal opinion. But I understand why they turned it into
Might have been
an
their
EP.
best if it was.
Exactly.
So we're at number 1. Yeah, I'm sure you're all in suspense. And
You already know.
look, so remember my last Van Halen video where I said Fair Warning was my favorite album, but I have to put the first one at number 1 just because of the historical importance, right?
Yeah.
And I still love them. Well, that's how I feel about. It's not their first album. That's
Even
how
though I
feel
said
about,
women and children first.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Zen Arcade's obviously number 1. they took hardcore and they ventured into pop stylings. And on top of that, this is the first time they said they recorded this in an abandoned church that a bunch of punks, like runaways and shit, stayed in. And recorded this album and made a concept album and melded all their lives together into a recurring theme. And also, you're talking about like bad production on the later stuff. That was my deal. Candy Apple Grey. There's no reason why that shouldn't fucking explode out of the speakers. This explodes. Look, this isn't recorded the best, but it explodes out of the fucking speakers.
It kicks you in the nuts.
Something I learned today is incredible. Broken Home, Broken Heart, hardcore. Never Talking to You Again, Grand Hearts, acoustic. Kind of the song. Charter Trips. The first time I heard this song, I was going through a big change in my life. I was moving somewhere, and this
See,
was supposed to
I would have mentioned all these songs, but we don't have time. You don't want to see an hour and a half video, do you?
We're at like hour 18 right now. It's fine.
Something like that. I don't know.
Indecision Time's fine. Hare Krishna, Experiment. That's something that's not, people don't know. Hare Krishna was like a big thing in the 80s.
If you want to make a double album, you got to jerk off a little.
They did a little bit.
Just a little.
They jerked off a tasteful amount. But here comes the holy trilogy of hardcore, in my opinion.
Here we go.
Beyond the Threshold beats your fucking face into the ground. Pride, which hints at, Bob Mauld's like repressed like sexuality and his like issues with that, which brings it into like a triple layer of meaning. And his screams and his anguish and it's like, this is the real deal, angsty rock and roll. And here comes my favorite song, I'll Never Forget You. I showed this to one of my friends who is a hardcore metalhead. He's like, oh, Husker Du, these are popular songs. He was like, that's like the hardest shit I heard in my life. Bob doesn't scream like one of these like 2000 like kind of screams. And he fucking screams like he's getting stabbed in the fucking face.
And the cool thing is he's not throwing in some like jerk off like power chords. He's throwing in some really cool chords in the middle of all this fast stuff, and you gotta love Bob Mould for that.
The way he screams "I'll Never Forget You" is like he's like screaming like his life depends on it. The Biggest Lie is great. What's Going On? Grand Heart, fantastic. Masochism World.
I can't believe I didn't mention that song. Masochism World.
It's fantastic. So I didn't realize till later that Monday Will Never Be the Same, Newest Industry, and what's the other song where they play the exact same melody to Newest Industry? It's another song too. And then Whatever's great and Turn on the News. The artwork's great. You notice how the cars are pink, turns to blue. Anyway, yeah, Husker Du. Undeniable influence. And I love Zen Arcade the most.
If you don't think that Husker Du is an alternative rock influence, you might possibly be a dick.
Definitely a dick. So let's rattle off our top list real quick. Mine was number 8, Candy Apple Grey.
Yep.
Number 7, Everything Falls Apart. Number 6, Land Speed Record. Number 5, Metal Circus. Number 4, New Day Rising. Number 3, Warehouse, Songs and Stories. Number 2, Flip Your Wig. Number 1, Zen Arcade. Michael.
All right, my friends. So my number 8 was Warehouse, Songs and Stories. Number 7, Candy Apple Grey. Number 6, Land Speed Record. Number 5, Flip Your Wig. Number 4, New Day Rising. Number 3, Everything Falls Apart. Number 2, Zen Arcade. Why do you say that? That's not fair. Why would you do that?
Why do you say this?
Because number 1 is Metal Circus, and it's badass.
Fair enough. Hey, Mike, how about you come back on the show and let's do the replacements?
Please have me back.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure, my friend. My name's Chris France. Thanks for watching Chris Ranks. Please subscribe, like the video, share. Thanks to my good friend Mikey McVeigh for stopping by.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.